What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. I am Rasean, your host and your favorite internet neurotransformation coach. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the 8 things that successful people do that unsuccessful people do not do. And so this was inspired by a book that I read quite a long time ago of Think and Grow Rich, where part of it was observing successful individuals. So I went on a little bit of an internet hunt to try to find some of the things that successful people do that, again, unsuccessful people do not, and really just looked for things that I can essentially implement into my life. And so some of the ones that are on here, I already do. And some of the ones that are on here, I don't do, or I don't do enough, or things that I can improve upon. So this is an episode for you as much as it is for me. And so before we hop into it, I just want to make one thing very clear, and that is that success is relative and it varies from person to person. So for me, saying these 8 things are going to make you successful, that's very clickbaity. That's not what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to do is give you as many tips as I could find that I could apply to essentially as many things as possible. So that way you could take 1 to 2 of these and then work on implementing them. So the first one that's on here, and we're just going to run through these real fast. So this episode's not going to be too long because I want to focus on you getting implementation over the information. So number 1 is going to be waking up early and having a morning routine. So you want to set time for personal growth. Now, I'm not a morning person. I said it on a past episode and I'll say it again. I'm not a morning person. Me waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning is not something that I look forward to. I don't think anybody does, but I'm also not a person that can wake up at 4 and then at 4:15, I'm like raring to go. Like that doesn't happen. Now, talk to me maybe 11 p.m., 12 midnight. Now I'm raring to go. That's just how my circadian rhythm tends to work. Waking up early if you can, but overall just waking up. And by early, you could be 30 minutes earlier than what you already do, or 15 minutes earlier, and having a morning routine, whatever that morning routine looks like for you. Now, I'm not a person who's very big on super long morning routines. That's kind of pointless to me. I'm not going to go wake up an hour earlier just so I can go sit, meditate, cold shower, journal. But like that for me, that's just way too much. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to tell you wake up an hour earlier and I go for a cold plunge followed by a mile run. And no, if that works for you, then that works for you. But the point is you want to have a morning routine that gets you in the mode of preparedness for working, gets you in the mode of, okay, it's time to get the day started. My morning routine is very, very simple. Alarm clock goes off. I wake up, go to the bathroom, wash my face, brush my teeth, make a cup of coffee. And while I'm making my cup of coffee, I'll do a little bit of stretches to start getting the blood flowing because I'm not a morning workout person either. After the coffee's done, I start sipping on the coffee and I just get to work. That's it. That's literally it. That's my morning routine. Done. You have it there. If you want to copy it, go right on ahead. That's point number 1. Point number 2, read consistently. I've made this point about reading before. If you want to be the person who reads like 100 books a year, by all means, go ahead and then print out your own gold star because most people don't really care. The point about reading is that you're reading to understand information and to apply it to your life. That's why I'm reading. I'm not going to show you all the books that I have over to my left. I'm not sure if this is mirrored or not, but there's a reason why I only have maybe 8, 9 books over there next to me. And none of them are over 250 pages. I could finish them all in a weekend. I could take a new book every single weekend and finish them all in less than 2 months. But that's not impressive because what did I implement? What did I apply? That's why for me, I have a lot of books that I want to actually read because it's information that I eventually want to apply. If it's a book on marketing and there's good information in there, I'll buy the book, either Kindle or physical, and I will just keep it there until I'm ready in my business to be able to enhance the marketing. Then I'll read that and then be able to understand. Otherwise, for me, if I read it, I'm not ready for marketing for a year from now, those kind of strategies and tactics, chances are I'm going to have to go reread it anyway or reread notes and everything to get it versus me just getting it fresh. Okay, now, if you want to reread books, by all means, go ahead and go crazy with it. But me, I'm not a person that rereads entire books. I'll reread sections to get things out of it. Like, there's even books nowadays that I'll still reread. I still reread sections of Think and Grow Rich. I still reread sections of How to Win Friends and Influence People. I still read sections from books like, I think it's called The Art of Persuasion. I still reread sections from that, but that's to get information from it, not to just read to say I read it. So that's very important. Number 2. Number 3, exercise consistently. Now, you ain't got to be no gym rat. You ain't got to go crazy. You ain't got to go be lifting 50-pound dumbbells like your boy over here for reps and sets. Okay, you don't have to do that. All you got to do is move every day. That's partially why I have this ring on my finger. It's an Aura ring. Helps me to track my movement, track my readiness, and track my sleep. That's why I have it. So that way I can track making sure I'm moving and getting my at least 10,000 steps a day. I make it a point to try my best to do 10,000 steps a day. I don't hit it every day. I'm not going to sit here like I'm perfect. I don't hit it every day, but I really make it an effort to do that, which is why I make sure that when I'm sitting down for a long time or I'm sedentary for quite a while, I made sure that I have the notifications on my phone. So if I'm sitting for too long, like for example, recording episodes for a long stretch of time, that my ring will go off and it'll say, hey, time to stretch your legs for a bit. That means I got to go and get some steps in, move around a little bit, get the blood flowing, because the ring's saying, hey, you've been stagnant for too long. You got to move. So that's helpful too. Number 4, this one is one that I need to do a little bit more often. That's write down goals consistently. Now, me, I'm a big person that keeps goals in my head. A lot of times I keep just this one big, massive, overarching goal that's going to take years and years to accomplish. I keep that in my head a lot of times. But a lot of the smaller goals that come from that big goal, I don't write them down as often as I need to. So sometimes they get forgotten or they get jumbled. So I do need to do a lot better with that one. But there was a Harvard study that explained that when you write down your goals, it helps you to increase the level of success that you actually achieve. And it makes sense because when you have things that are in your head, the brain is great for creating and cultivating, but it's horrible at storage. That's why we have pen, paper, or electronic ways of taking down notes, or even audio ways of taking down information, so that way we can reference it later. Because if you store it in your brain, it's going to be lost because your brain has this thing called working memory. I'm not going to get into that. That's for a whole nother episode. But the point is, your brain can only remember so many pieces of things at once. And unless you train the brain to remember something consistently, it's going to forget it. So if you're keeping track, we're on number 5 right now, and that is to have mentors. Now, these mentors can be paid, they can be free, they can be whatever you want them to be. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it sounded cool. Mentors help you to shorten the learning curve. Why is that? Because the mentors are the epitome of been there, done that. They spent the time, they spent the effort, they spent the energy, they spent the resources. So that way you don't have to do that. It's partially why I make this podcast. That's also why I introduce the episodes by saying your favorite internet neurotransformation coach, because I've done these things to help me transform my mind and transform my productivity. And I'm giving these tips back to you so that way you can shorten your learning curve and fast track your way to your form of success, which again, success is relative. So fast tracking it to what success looks like for you. Number 6, positive self-talk. You want to motivate and encourage yourself every single day. You want to do the best you can to essentially brainwash yourself to be positive all day. It sounds crazy. It sounds weird. And it almost sounds, depending on who you ask, it could sound a little bit like narcissistic and borderline, almost like arrogant. But at the same time, when you brainwash yourself to be positive and keep telling yourself positivity, we're going to get to an episode 2 episodes from now. So because I planned these out. So this is episode 161 you're listening to. Episode 163 in 2 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about the law of attraction. And so you'll understand there. We'll go a little bit deeper in that one. So stay tuned for that. And we're going to be talking a lot more about how thoughts impact the subconscious mind. So we're going to get to that. But right now, just understand that positive self-talk is incredibly beneficial to you because these thoughts will embed themselves into your subconscious and it will eventually come through in your conscious behavior. Number 7 is do not worry about failure. That's our penultimate entry here. Do not worry about failure because failure is a learning opportunity. I'm not going to spend too long on this one because we already know the cliches. The only way for you to learn is to try and not succeed. Because if you try and you succeed the first time, what was there to learn other than let's just do that again. There's a lot of lessons you need to learn along the way. Me starting this podcast, there are countless lessons that I've learned. I can't even begin to name the amount of lessons that I've learned that did not work out. Even to this day, there are still things that I try behind the scenes that you all have no idea that just don't work out. And so I never talk about them. I never let them be seen through to fruition because it doesn't work. At least it doesn't work for me. Now, again, we talked about this in last week's episode, but again, the whole thing of knowledge versus wisdom. The knowledge is saying this is a possible way of doing X, Y, Z, but wisdom is saying I tried it and it worked, or I tried it and it didn't work. And the only way to get that is to fail. That's it. You have to try it. And if it doesn't work, you now know that doesn't work. So you tweak something to try it again. And if it doesn't work, you tweak something else to try it again until it works. And the last one, which I kind of already alluded to already, and that is to never stop. And that persistence will allow you to outlast any competitor that you have in the space that you operate in. That's it. As long as you don't give up, you can't lose. Because if you never give up, you will always keep learning. And so you literally, by mathematics, as long as you keep going, eventually you will strike gold. That's why the saying is, a wrong clock is still right twice a day. As long as time keeps going, eventually you will hit gold. Eventually you will hit something. Eventually something will click and something will work out for you. And when it does, you keep doing it. Don't change. Keep doing it. That's something I need to keep reminding myself of all the time. If something works, why change it? Keep doing it. This is as much of a reminder for you as it is for me. Because so many times we want to change, we want to do something different. Oh, that worked. What if something else works? It might, but let's milk this for right now until we can't milk it any longer, and then we'll move on to something else. So those are the 8 habits of successful people. I'll run through them real fast for the very end. And that is to 1, wake up early and have a morning routine. 2, read consistently. 3, exercise consistently. 4, write down your goals consistently. Notice how all these are consistent. That should have been bonus point number 9. Just be consistent. Number 5, have mentors. 6, positive self-talk. 7, don't worry about failure. And 8, never stop. That's what I have for you for this episode. Hopefully you learn something. Hopefully you implement something. And I will see you in the next episode. And guys, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. Guys, again, if you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the show for weekly uploads. If you love what you heard, be sure to sign up for that email list. And if you hated what you heard, be sure to share it with somebody who will appreciate it. Also, if you guys want to get access to the show notes or any kind of resource or link or to anything that was referenced in this episode, be sure to check out that episode description below. You'll also find the contact information, any freebies, or any sort of thing from our little corner of the internet. Check out the episode description. It's going to be an absolute gold mine for you guys. Until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next episode.